Welcome to chapter 59 of the book of Isaiah. It begins, "Is not the hand of the Lord strong to deliver? Or his ear weighed down to not listen?" This is a question, what do they call it, a rhetorical question, because of course the Lord's hand is strong to deliver. And of course his ear is not stopped from hearing. Now, the problem is the people, myself, people at the time, others, you, a lot of people question whether God can deliver out of a certain problem. We run into these problems of life all the time and question God. God, are you there? Can you help me? Where are you? Are you listening to me? And God is saying right here, by the question, the answer is not the hand of the Lord strong to deliver? Well, the answer is yes, it is strong to deliver. And here, or is his ear weighed down to not listen? No, it's not weighed down to listen. He can listen and hear everything that we say. But it says your sins make a part between you and God. So the problem of thinking of God, can you hear, and the problems we get into a lot of times, not all the times, some of the times are because of sin. And the result of the sin is generally some type of a destructive action that's going to happen, is happening, or will happen to the person that's sinning. Eventually it'll take its toll. And it says, on account of your sins, he turned his face from you to not show mercy. Now, why did God turns his face from you to not show mercy? Well, if you saw somebody doing something that was very, very horrible, you wouldn't really want to watch it. You'd want to turn away from it. And I don't believe it's because you wouldn't want to help somebody that was sinning or doing something bad, but if they are in that position, they've got themselves into that much of a strait that they can't get out of, and they're sinning, and the things are bad, then, well, too bad. Then you're just going to have to, that person's going to have to live with the repercussions of the sin, and I'm not going to show mercy on somebody that's living in sin. And, well, I mean, there is always exceptions, of course, especially when it comes to your family and your spouse and children and so forth. But God shows mercy on everybody. But here he's mentioning that on account of the sins he turned away from us. And I don't believe it's because he doesn't love us, but he's turning away from the sin. And he doesn't want to see the sin. And we shouldn't want to see whatever we are doing that is sin. So there's sins that I do that I certainly wouldn't want anybody to know that I commit sin. So it's something I don't even want to see. So imagine, why should God have to sit and look at our sin? So he turns away, not because he hates us. I just don't see that. And it says, for your hands are tainted in blood. I added that and changed it. And your fingers in sins. So now these sins that he's referring to here are pretty serious. When you're tainted in blood, that means you have caused some type of physical harm to somebody else. Whether in those days it could have been with a slave that you beat, or you beat your wife or your kids, or a friend or somebody that you didn't like, or you killed somebody. All these different possibilities that people are doing. It says, and your fingers in sins are tainted with this blood. They're red, running with the blood from the blood that you have shed or caused to shed, sometimes causing other people to shed their own blood. And there was just a recent young girl who committed suicide because of bullying in school, and they were bullying her, and she committed suicide. And so when they had the funeral, the father wanted the bullies to come and see what they caused. And so sometimes it can be causing others to shed blood. And your lips spoke lawlessness. Well, the words that come out of the mouth past the lips, which fluctuates the air coming in the sound coming out of our vocal cords, in the brain that teaches it or conducts it in the way that it can communicate, and it's speaking things that are bad. And this is a figure of speech with the lips and speaking lawlessness. Well, the lip itself is just a muscle. I guess it's a muscle. And your tongue meditated upon injustice. Well, my tongue isn't part of my mouth. It doesn't meditate upon anything. It's another figure of speech about our speech pattern, how we talk. It meditates upon injustice, something to do that is wrong, that wanting to steal or lie, cheat, things that work sinning through the speech pattern that is something that is evil, is something that God is bringing out here. And no one speaks just things, nor is there true equity. It's an interesting word, this crisis. We have the word crisis. It has to do with something that's on a yoke, or it's on a balance. Either way, in equity is where it's the same, on instead of way down one way or the other. And so we have equity means equal. Equity, it's equal. True equality, not going over to one way or the other. And they rely upon vanities, things that are useless, and they speak empty things, for they sire misery and give birth to lawlessness. So a person can be relying upon something that is vain, that isn't really going to do a person any good, and could be on gambling, something like that. You could sit there and gamble and spend all your money and all your efforts. And there was this recently a man who killed, 40, 50 people in Las Vegas. And nobody knows why. Well, I know, I think I know why. It's because he was relying upon a vain thing, something that wasn't going to help him at all. And eventually it took its toll. It was empty. And he just decided to take it out on other people there, and broke the window and had a gun, all kinds of bullets, and started shooting down on these people that were at a country music festival, and killed them. And for they sire misery and give birth to lawlessness. So that's exactly what happened with that man. They, that is, no one speaking just things, the evildoers, I suppose, they hatch eggs of aspidon, asp, a snake, poisonous snake, and weave a web of a spider to catch people in it. And arachnis, you can add that to the English derivative book. Arachnid is a spider. That's a technical name. Excuse me. Still trying to get rid of this cold I've had for a month now, and just pops up here and there. Hospitals are full all over California with people, and this is January of 2018, with people with the flu. It's I think it's one of the worst that they've had in 13 years, and we're just in the beginning of winter. Anyway, and the one about to eat their eggs, breaking a rotten egg, found also in it a cobra. So the evil that people do is basically like a snake, something that's going to bite them back, or a spider that's going to catch them in whatever they are doing in this evil. And if they eat their eggs, it's just like it's going to get worse. You're breaking a rotten egg, and in it they found the cobra, which was worse than anything else. So it just keeps getting worse and worse, the situation that the evil one is in, until he can get out or be gone. Their web shall not be made into a garment. And so a spider's web is not going to be turned into yarn made into a garment, nor shall they clothe themselves from their works. The works they're vain works. They're not going to be able to do anything with these works. The man gambling isn't going to be able to do anything. You could sit there and spend all your days watching sports, and that's just a waste of your time. You're not going to gain anything by it's not going to put any clothes on your back or anything watching all these sports. There's all kinds of vanities. You can sit and play games like my neighbor, chess, and then cards, and you name it, ping pong. Spend your whole day with games. And this vanity it's useless. There's other things. Now, people can have a hobby. I don't think that's not the same thing. If your hobby, you spend some of your spare time on the hobby, like if you're stamp collecting, well, you may gain a little bit of knowledge of world history and things like that. Or I suppose my vain thing would be, if anything, would be photography and the cameras that I have some cameras and lenses. I enjoy buying these old Japanese lenses that were made in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and have a new camera. And I do product photography with the Bible and things like that. And I'm hoping to put a bibliography out of all these books behind me and take pictures of them for people that are interested and know what a Bible translator would use. Then I enjoy the photography. I go out. Yesterday on Sunday, I went out, with my camera and went down to the beach and took some pictures and put them up on YouTube and under Apostolic Bible, or actually it's under my name, Charles Vanderpool. And I use, it's called a Konica Hexanon 52mm is the title of the seminars. You can see where I live, and it should be under Charles Vanderpool. And so I enjoy that. Now, is that vain? Well, I learn a lot about the photography that I'm able to use it, and hopefully I would be able to use it for people to see these books and so forth. So it's not completely vain in my case, I don't believe. And their feet run unto wickedness, the evil ones, quick to pour out blood. Wow, they want to run to do wickedly. I see these soldiers of a Muslim religion, and it seems like they just run to do pour out blood. They just enjoy it. Well, now in the United States, there's not people running to pour out blood, but you could sit there and be caught up into the National Football League and watching people butt heads constantly, and sometimes damage is done to the other person. But is that that's not exactly running into wickedness to pour out blood. But that's the real thing, is when you are wanting to kill other people, and there are a lot of people in the world that like to do that. And their thoughts are thoughts of murder, destruction, and misery are in the ways. A lot of people have when they're miserable, misery is in their ways, and they're in poverty, and they don't have anything. And I hear these people say, well, the poverty causes crime. Because people don't have anything, they go to crime. And I say right away, well, it's just the opposite. That's completely wrong. It's crime causes poverty, and that's basically the teaching of the Bible. Here, all these thoughts and all the things that a person is doing that's evil is going to cause misery in their ways, and poverty would be part of the misery. And the way of peace they know not, and there is not equity in their ways. They're not able to judge the good and the bad. They're completely one-sided. For their roads which they travel through are perverted. So the way that they go, perversions can be a sexual perversion, going to places that has pornography. That would be a way. I see these places on the side of the freeway. I don't anymore. I haven't driven for quite a few years, but as far as going out on the freeways, but at certain truck stops, they have these places. So they're perversion. So I'm sure men go and stop and go in there, and so even literally perverted, and they travel through. And they know not peace. So and really don't have peace. They're probably mad at themselves after they do something like that. Now, I'm not a woman, so I really don't have a knowledge of what women do that I can relate to that bring all these things out. On account of this, equity left from them, and in no way shall righteousness overtake them, because they're completely one-sided. They're gone to the side of evil. And back in 7, where was that at? Over here. I forgot and their feet run unto wickedness, quick to pour out blood, and their thoughts are thoughts of murder and destructions. And in the way of peace they know not, nor is there equity in their ways. That's actually was quoted by Paul as he was trying to show that everybody was under sin, and he uses that down here. You can see it, Romans 3:15 to 17. And so in their waiting light, darkness became to them. In their waiting, darkness came to them, but came would be as a different word to come. This is became. Light became to them. So basically, they're waiting. If they're waiting light, well, you're really not walking in the light, so then darkness takes over. They're waiting for daylight, but what? They walked in midnight, do the things that most bad things happen, I think, at nighttime. Burglaries and all sorts of things. People go into bars and fights and a lot of these things at night. But they shall grope as a blind men for a wall, that is, the evildoers, and they shall grope as ones not possessing eyes. They're going to try to find the right thing, but it's just going to be groping and looking. And instead of finding God, they're just going to be searching other ways and always finding something else outside of God that will help them to get through the problems of their daily life. They shall fall in midday as at midnight. So they're going to fall at nighttime, and you can't see what's something, and you fall over a stone, a rock. Well, it's understandable, but when you start falling with doing evil, it'll be even at midday. People do things at midday also, fights as much, and robberies. So they do happen at midday, and it's going to happen to people that are living an evil life. They shall moan as one's dying. They're going to be in a pain, a physical and psychological pain, and they will be moaning because of the situation they are in. Here I have a spelling error. Probably every place number 715 is probably wrong. As a bear, it's Arctos. We have the Arctic. In the north is Arctos. North and Arctic, a bear, and the Arcturus, I think it is the bear constellation. As a bear and as a dove, together they shall go. I'm not exactly sure what that, a bear and as a dove, together they shall go. Well, I don't know how a bear and a dove go together, but we awaited judgment. There's that crisis again. So it's a judgment is also the thing that tilts one way or the other. You're guilty or you're innocent, and it's the crisis. I can't think of the name. It's not the flux, something like that, of a yoke balance, the crux. And there is not a deliverance. Wow. It is removed far from us. So basically, the deliverance is far from a person. It's been removed from them because of Satan has removed it. They've removed themselves, both. And they're far from any type of a deliverance. Soteria, salvation in the King James, which I don't use in the Apostolic Bible because it's a verb and it's an action verb. It's not something that's static like a salvation. I've been saved. It keeps on going. You're being delivered. It's removed far from us. That is the evildoer. For our lawlessness is poly. Poly is many, much. It's not really great. A lot of these things I did 30 years ago in translating and putting these words in. So I've learned a lot in 30 years, and I hope you'll forgive me that I didn't get it right the first time. For our lawlessness is much before you, many, and our sins withstood us. There we see them. They're there. For our lawless deeds are in us, and our offenses we knew. So now, if you really know them, then, well, it says we were impious. So now you can see where he's kind of twisting it and turning it to the person's, somebody is that could be realizing that where they were and where they are now, and this is not a good place to be. I'm a bad place, and lied and departed from our God. I departed from God for 13 years, and my life became a mess, and a lot of things that I did that were evil, that were wrong, that were sinful. People came and did the same exact thing to me. And what man sows, he will also reap. But I cried out to God, and he heard me and brought me back after the 13 years. We spoke unjustly, and we resisted persuasion. The things of other Christians telling people you should, give this up, you should change, come to Jesus, come to church with me, all kinds of persuasion that God will have people give to other people. We sired and meditated unjust words from our heart. And here it's a siring is a masculine, what a man does. We sired it. We wanted this and meditated unjust words from our heart. And we left behind equity. We went on that one way that was bad, and righteousness removed far off. For the truth was consumed in their ways, and now it's not ours, but theirs, the evil ones, and they were not able to go by the straight way. They weren't because they were consumed. The truth was consumed in their ways. They weren't able to go to the truth because they believed the lie. A lot of people believe the lies of Satan and go with them and don't ever turn away from them. And they're consumed just what Satan would like. Most people, and they're not able to go to the straight way when Jesus shows the straight way. And the truth was lifted away, and they changed their thought of perceiving. And the Lord beheld, and it did not please him, for there was not equity. They're out of control, one way. And then it changes. And he beheld, God, and there was not a man. And he contemplated, and there was not the one assisting. Antileptor is a person that was a shield holder that was in front of a warrior. He mentions Jonathan, and he had a shield holder, an Antileptor, who held the shield for the warrior. And maybe when they were shooting arrows and defended the warrior. And he defended them by his arm. God did. And with charity he supported them. Now, there was a man there, and he beheld, and there was not a man, and he contemplated, and there was not the one assisting. So he sees people that are in this bad condition. He would like to help. He defended them by his arm, and with charity he supported them, and he clothed himself with righteousness as a chest plate. Now, he could be talking about here as Jesus is the righteousness as a chest plate. This is mentioned by Paul, and put a helmet of deliverance upon his head and put around himself a cloak of vengeance. See, we don't have a cloak of vengeance. We're not given to vengeance. We're not to avenge. That's up to God. So here I believe it's talking about Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is coming with righteousness, and deliverance is upon his head, and vengeance to the evildoer, even a wraparound garment. And I believe they put that on Jesus. One of these, the soldiers did when he went to the cross. As he was as one recompensing. I put a reward, and I don't like that. It should have antipodosin is a verb, and antipodosin is a recompense. And here, one recompensing, so I put recompense. I'm going to try to take reward out. The one, as one recompensing, a recompense of scorn to the adversaries. A recompense could be good. To somebody that's done good, then you would give them a recompense of money or wealth or a family or a good job. All these would be a recompense to the friends of his, more or less. But this is a recompense of scorn to the adversaries. And the ones from the west shall fear the name of the Lord, and the ones from the east sun shall fear the honorable name. So God from Jerusalem, people from the east and west know the name of Jesus. For the anger from the Lord, here para, shall come as a violent river. So if a person isn't giving up the evil things, mankind isn't, then the anger of the Lord, it shall come with rage. Whenever you see orgi and thimu together, then that is really angry. And the one rescuing, now this is not salvation or saving, this is a actual rescue, rescuing somebody from some bad thing, rescuing a person from drowning, rescuing a person that's lost and ready to die, all kinds of rescues. The one rescuing shall come from Zion, and this is Jesus who comes from Zion and shall turn impiety from Jacob, which I would say would be Israel, the Jews today, but I don't see impiety having been turned from that. Actually, they're turned towards it. So sometime in the future, the way I see it. And this covenant to them is by me. So this place here is a quotation of that Paul uses in Romans 11:26 and 27, and he says, "And so all Israel shall be delivered, as it has been written." And then he quotes this, and the one rescuing shall come from Zion, shall turn impiety from Jacob, and this is a covenant by me. So that was all quoted by Paul as he's explaining the deliverance. Said the Lord, the Spirit, and I put, instead of dash, mine, the one, because it has the article there, so I like this better. The Spirit, the one mine, which is upon you, and my words which I put in your mouth, if you do have that, in no way shall fail from out of your mouth, and he could be talking about Jesus, nor from out of the mouth of your seed, the seed of the Lord, said the Lord, from the now and unto the eon. So it's not only going to be, it's not going to fail now. His word is not going to fail into the eon. He talks about his word being lasting into the eons of the eons. Chapter 60, the next chapter, we go in the glory of the Lord upon Jerusalem, and we'll find out what that's about in the 60th chapter, and hope you'll join us in the next video seminar, and God bless.